voice of Fawn Wood, an Indigenous singer from Canada. She's a Plains Cree and Salish musician from Alberta who traveled to Kennesaw State University on September 10th to showcase her music and her language. She has won national awards for her music and travels across the world to teach her culture and what it means in this modern world.
I just want to say it's a huge honor and pleasure to join you guys today and share a little bit of my knowledge of our music and how it's evolving and how our people are using this to revitalize our own language. And if there's two things that I'm really passionate about, it's music and language. Because of the many hardships that our people in Canada and just like down here, we faced a lot of adversities and language loss and the loss of our culture plays a huge part in that. And that's something our people are kind of reclaiming.
As mentioned, language was a huge part of her lecture, and those who were able to attend learned about the importance of language in Woods' culture. One person in attendance was the Consulate General of Canada, Ashanti Infantry, who gave more insight into the importance of languages in Canadian culture as well.
Well, I think language is critical to Canadian culture and identity for the very fact that we have two official languages, English, of course, and then French, even though French isn't spoken widely throughout the entire country. A lot of it is concentrated in one province, which is Quebec, but given the history and evolution of our country, French has been recognized as one of our key languages. When I think about, Fawn's concerns and the, depth that she has gone to doing her master's, for example, in Indigenous language, I understand completely how important it is and critical it is to pay attention to that aspect of culture in order to preserve and maintain the culture. Language is just a small part of the traditions. It can include food, it can include music, spiritual or religious practices, and language is a significant part of that. And I think all of it needs to be attended to.
The reason why we started singing in English was after our Indigenous youth were coming out of boarding school in the residential school era, a lot of them lost their language while they were in these schools because they were forbidden to speak it. So when they were coming back to the communities, our elders got together and they said, well, how can we connect these young people back to our culture? How can we get them drawn into these ceremonies, into these gatherings? And they said, well, why don't we start singing in English because they can understand that. So that's how they connected and drew in our young people. And once they were connected to our English songs, they would come into our ceremonies and they would hear our language. And now you see a surge in Indigenous youth who are drawn to this kind of music and powwow music. And a lot of that is sung in our language. But I'll share this song with you, and it is in English, and it's called Remember Me.
Another person involved with the planning of Wood's appearance was Shay Smith. Smith is the Director of Community Engagement and Outreach in the Office of Global Education, and she spoke about her role in creating the focus for this Year of Canada's program. She also told me about what she hoped people would take away from the speaker.
We're always going to, with Year of Country Study, always going to focus on the culture, which is the language, the art, the music, which is part of the arts, but there's visual arts, musical as well. As well as we focus on the culture, language will always be a part of it. It's just, this was a special angle and an important angle for Canada because of the First Nations. And it's so cool because it's like, it stems from this sacred place for their people, and yet she's willing to share it with us and in a way, honestly, take a risk in sharing it and not knowing how it'll be received. Because you and I both know we could go share something of ourselves with other people, and they may or may not accept it or understand it or appreciate it. So whenever someone is coming in like that, I feel like it's really important for us to see it from that human perspective and say, I'm here to understand more about you, and just to show that respect.
Remember me when the sun comes up in the morning sky. There I will be.
Dr. Rochelle Harris Cox was also in attendance. Despite being part of the English faculty at KSU, she appreciated more Indigenous history being explored and learned about at the university.
For me, it's learning that music isn't just music, right? That it's a way for her to do language reclamation. It's a way to carry stories and culture. It's something that has been a through line in her Indigenous territory as well as in her own life, right? So I think that for me, right, that there's this central core of music, and it's not just the cool thing you play on the radio or the cool thing you hum around for your kids. I love that we have a place where we can have respect for something that's feels not just academic, right? That we are bringing real life, genuine ways of understanding the world, but bringing them into an academic space with so much diverse students and speaker and worldview. I think that's what I really like, that it's not just, do some reading, take a test, learn something that you can, check. It's much more like, I hope people are walking away going, what stories does my music tell? Or, should I look Fawn up on Facebook or TikTok? Yes, that kind of thing, right? Like that it continues, that it feels like an applied and real moment.
Overall, many students and faculty attended Fawn Wood's lecture, and Wood was able to educate and demonstrate some of her music and language and what the road to reconciliation and recovery looks like for her and her tribe.